Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I wanted to kick off today's video by saying that I want everybody's feedback on what you thought about the Super Bowl last night. And not just the game, but did the team you thought was going to win the game? Or did you actually think the Bengals were going to win the game? And what did you think about the halftime performance and the commercials and all that? Because I've been hearing a lot of people say that they think that halftime performance last night was either the best ever or the second or third best ever. So I would like to know what everybody thinks, and also the commercials, because we know by now that the Super Bowl always gets all that money that comes in just for the advertisements. But I tell you what, it's a good thing I didn't go, because I'm a cheapskate, I'm a tightwad, and I heard on the radio this morning that at the Super Bowl, for one slice of pizza, it was $17. Now, had I went to that and had to pay $17 for a slice of pizza, I would have probably had a heart attack. So it's a good thing I did not make plans to go to the game. But the Rams did pull away and win the game at the very end with a minute and 25 seconds to go in the game. So it was a good, competitive game. But maybe it's just me, and maybe it's a figment of my imagination, but it just seems like this year the game just didn't get as much hype as it normally does. I mean, it had hype, of course. It's the big game. It's always going to have hype. But we know by now there's always a bye week between the championship games and the big game. And typically, for those 2 weeks in between, every single conversation is somehow wrapped around the big game. Everything you read about is about the big game. You turn the TV on, and if it's on Sports Talk, it's about the big game. And the radio in my car stays on Sports Talk all the time. It never changes. And typically, the 2 weeks between the championship games and the big game, every single conversation is somehow, some way wrapped around the big game. And it wasn't this year. Maybe I'm crazy, or maybe it's actually the truth, and it's because of the fact there wasn't any big-time teams or big-time players as far as on the popularity poll in the game this year. But it just seems to me like it just wasn't as hyped up as it normally is. But congratulations to the Rams for winning the big game last night. Today we're going to talk about all the new NFL head coaches, because there was 9 coaching vacancies in the NFL that have been filled. One of them goes to Dennis Allen, who is the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Now, he does have some head coaching experience. He coached the Raiders for a couple of years about a decade ago, and it did not go very well. But he's been the Saints' defensive coach for the last few years, and their defense has made great improvements along the way. Before he came along, they had Rob Ryan, and when Rob Ryan was there, their defense was an absolute train wreck. So he has turned around the defense. Maybe for his sake, he'll have better luck this time as coaching the Saints than he did when he was coaching the Raiders. And then we have Brian Daboll, who is the new head coach of the New York Football Giants. And then we have the hire that surprised, I think, everybody, because when this team had a vacancy, had an opening, which everybody said was coming back around Halloween, you probably could have named 50 guys that would be their next head coach, and nobody would have said Matt Eberflus. But Matt Eberflus is the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, and I think the main reason it surprised most people, not just because he's pretty much an unheard of name, but because he is a defensive coach, and you would think if you're putting all your eggs in the basket of Justin Fields and trying to make him improve, you would hire an offensive coach. But the Bears didn't. But I don't think the Bears know what they're doing. And then we have Nathaniel Hackett, who is the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. And watch out for the Broncos, because the rumor is that is where Aaron Rodgers is going to end up going. And I can see the Broncos doing that, because we know that towards the end of Peyton Manning's career, he signed with the Broncos and won a ring with the Broncos. And we also know that as good as John Elway was as a quarterback, he is terrible at drafting quarterbacks. Every quarterback that John Elway thinks is going to be good out of college end up being awful. So he'll be a whole lot better off signing Aaron Rodgers than he will be drafting another quarterback that's going to end up sucking, because John Elway, for some reason, just cannot evaluate collegiate quarterbacks. And then we have Mike McDaniel, who is the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and Josh McDaniels is the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And then Doug Peterson, who last coached the Philadelphia Eagles, is the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then we have Kevin O'Connell is going to be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And last but not least, Lovie Smith is the new head coach of the Houston Texans. And I don't understand that at all, because I'm always talking about coaches that are failures everywhere they go, but keep getting chance after chance. And Lovie Smith was a failure with the Bears. He was a failure with the Bucks, and he was a failure in college at Illinois. So why the Texans want him, I don't know, but he will be their next head coach. Now, is this going to work out? No. But is this going to be his fault? No. The Texans are so bad that I don't think it matters who their coach is. They're not going to be any good. So Lovie Smith will be a failure with the Houston Texans, but it won't be his fault. That team has absolutely no talent whatsoever. So yes, Lovie's a terrible coach. Yes, Lovie's a terrible hire. Yes, Lovie's going to be a failure. But unlike the situations with the Bears and the Bucks and Illinois, this time it won't be his fault, because they have not just one good player, they have no good players. So any thoughts on any of these hires, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. How do you get a squirrel to like you? Act like a nut. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.